On episode 47 of Chit Chat, it's time to talk about Essen and all the games that are getting us excited. Which ones will draw the biggest crowds, and what games are we all trying to ship back from Germany as quickly as possible? Let's dive in and discuss. Welcome back to Chit Chat. This is episode 47. We're going to talk about Essen and our personal top fives, collectively our top 20 games that we're looking forward to. Not going to talk anything at all about the games we've been playing. So we're going to focus on Essen.
Besides Borderlands.
We have been playing some Borderlands 3, but let's not talk about that. Those are video games. We're going to talk about board games. Essen is coming up, but before we get to that...
Two announcements. Number one, Upstate Kate, you won the $50 gift certificate to Broken Token. Just email us at manvsmeeple@gmail.com. Announcement number two, we will be doing an all-day, 12-hour live stream of Essen on October the 5th. We're going to be playing right around 10 or so games and featuring a whole lot of other games during that. So make sure you guys check out our YouTube channel to see that live broadcast. So let's start with number 5. Which way do we want to go? What? I got something?
Winner!
Whoa, yeah. Next week's winner. Oh my gosh, I almost forgot. Bloomtown. This is a brand new publisher, Sidekick Games, and a brand new game that's going to be released at Essen. So make a comment below, and you're going to be entered to win that.
There you go. Now we can start with our top fives. Who wants to start?
I'll start.
Okay.
I'll start with my number 5.
All right.
My number 5 is called Skytopia in the Circle of Time. This is from Cosmodrome and the designer of Smartphone Inc.
Oh.
Smartphone Inc. was it's kind of a sleeper hit, came out of nowhere last year. This is a worker placement game where you're building cities in the clouds, and everyone has like these giant golems, which are like huge giant creatures that are helping you kind of build your city from nothing. And it is an engine builder. You're going to be playing cards in front of you into a tableau. You're going to be playing buildings and triggering those cards and cascading those into different combos and things like that. So there's not a lot of information about it yet, but I am very interested, especially with that design pedigree.
Cosmodrome, the company that made that, also has Aquatica, which is coming out. So they have two really big...
That's the one we were trying to talk. I was trying to think of before we started filming Aquatica.
The cover with the sea.
Yeah, the cover with the...
That one looked really good as well.
Yeah, so they have two really good titles they'll be releasing.
That's my number 5.
My number 5 is called Alubari, A Nice Cup of Tea. It was originally called just A Nice Cup of Tea. It's a 1 to 5 player game that's a worker placement game, so all of these titles, just a little hint, all of my titles are going to be heavy Euro games because Essen's all about the Euro. 1 to 5 player worker placement game that takes place in Darjeeling.
That makes sense.
It's an area in India that is known for their tea trade. So you're going to be making tea and then serving that tea to your own employees or your workers to make them better, and taking a number of actions. If you guys seen the game board in this, it's monstrous. There's a lot of different spots you go to.
And that game's, I feel like that's been in development for a while. I heard about that a long time ago.
It was just originally called A Nice Cup of Tea, so a lot of people knew it by that, and then they renamed it. It's not been out yet, though. Okay. I think a lot of people have touched it because of the development process, but it's not been released.
It doesn't sound like a heavy Euro.
It definitely sounds... it sounds like a Euro to me.
Have you seen the board?
No,
it definitely looks like a Euro, for sure.
So that's it. Alubari.
My number 5 is Humboldt Great Voyage. This one is from Hutch and R&R. I'll be honest, this one has Dennis Lohausen artwork, which is what completely drew me in. So I don't know much about the game, but from all appearances, it looks like that sort of middleweight Euro that we generally like. And R&R's bringing out. I love the stuff that they've typically brought out over here. Raja of the Ganges, things like that. So that's my number 5.
Cool.
My number 5 is Karn from Matago, designed by Christian Martinez. We all like him. So it's a 2-player game. You're 2 villages. You're confronting each other. You're trying to build monoliths to appease the gods, and you're trying to keep the other village from getting their monoliths built. Looks pretty cute. There's not a ton about it out there yet, so just looking forward to even trying it, but it is going to be available at Essen.
I didn't know that was 2 players only.
Yeah.
Really?
It's like a chess-like duel type game.
Which probably makes it more interesting to you.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
now that you mention it, it has like almost like a chess looking like 2 colors of people. Okay, now I do recognize it. Yeah, that does look good.
All right, 4.
Ryan, down to number 4.
This is fast.
Yeah, number 4 for me is Tortuga 2199.
Never heard of it.
And this is from Jet Game Studio, and I picked this game kind of surely based on premise and design. This game looks fantastic, but it takes your Caribbean pirate style game and puts it in space. So you're space pirates, basically. You're doing a lot of the same things you would expect to do in any kind of pirate game, exploring, trading, sacking things, gathering resources.
But in space?
In space, but it does it through a combination of both deck building and bag building, which are two mechanics that I really love. And I don't think I've seen a game really put those two things together.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned this. I cannot remember the name of it. I just saw it added to the BGG list today. A game that had both deck building, pool building, and bag building, like all sorts
Was
of
it Tortuga 2199?
It was not Tortuga. I can't remember the name of it, but it was just added today.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to trying
What's the
that one.
publisher on this?
It's Jet Games Studio.
Huh.
No
And first-time designer, too, from the looks of it. But the game looks really good.
I'll have to look that one up. All right, so my number 4 is Orleon Stories. It is a wholly new game. It uses the same engine, obviously, as Orleon's. 2 to 4 player game. It has 2 stories in it. One's kind of an introductory story. It has 3 campaigns or eras, and then the second one has 5. And one of the great things about this that I've always felt with Orleans is it didn't really get good until that second expansion when you traded out that intrigue board and you had all kinds of different things to go to. This is going to introduce new rule sets every single game that you play. So there's a lot of carrots that you have to kind of follow and different objectives that you have to do in order to beat the game. Plus it judges you at the end of the campaign on how well you met those along the way.
Oh, wow.
So you can still win the game in various different ways, but you can progress better if you do very specific things according to that era.
That sounds ambitious.
It sounds
Yeah.
ambitious and really cool. I mean, we all like Orlean. We all enjoy how to
absolutely.
play it. But now they've kind of injected a campaign aspect, which I think, for me at least, that's
Sure.
it's a neat little
Yeah.
trick.
All right, my number 4 is On the Origin of Species. This is from Mont Tabor. Is that the correct
I
pronunciation?
don't know.
This is a cool-looking Euro that follows the theme of Darwin's voyage across the Galapagos Islands. And it has all these cards with all these species. You're finding and identifying species, but then also as you travel on this path, you're basically laying those species out across the board. It looks gorgeous. And then anytime we see a Euro that has kind of a unique and interesting theme that's not just like typical old Euro themes, I'm into it. So that's
Well, this is another one like Wingspan where you almost kind of feel like you're learning a lot.
It does
as
look
you
like
play
that.
it.
I had that same vibe just from looking at it. I don't know how much of that there is in there, but it does definitely seem like there's stuff I certainly didn't know about that voyage in the game.
All right, so mine is So You've Been Eaten. And
Scott Holmes, right?
yeah, it's Scott Alms with the cover art and everything's Quanchai. So it's gorgeous looking. This is Luda Creations. It is a 0 to 2 player game, which is what's really even more interesting about it. So the whole
That is
point is you're
interesting.
these miners, you're like space miners, and you need to get these specific type of crystals, and they happen to be inside of these space monsters, these beasts, and so you have to be eaten in order to get them, but you have to get them before the bacteria, digest you. So you have to win by getting 8 crystals before you're digested. Otherwise, the beast wins.
I'm going to put you on the spot.
Yeah.
How is it 0 players?
I am not 100% sure. Like, I know there's 4 different modes of gameplay. So there is the 0 player is the miner versus the beast. So it's kind
So
of
is that
your,
like AI versus
Yeah.
it's like AI
You
versus
still have to
AI
be able
is
to
how I
monitor
understand
it.
it.
Like, there has to be one player, like,
Yeah, because in a way, all of our games are 0 players when they're not being played, right?
So I have a feeling it's
Interesting.
probably far more interesting than I am making it sound because I don't have the full details on it, but I'm very much looking forward to it. So you're it's 1 versus 1, so you're beast versus the miner, or vice versa, or whatever, or you can be the miner versus the beast is an AI, the beast versus the miner is an AI, or apparently it can run itself. So I think it's pretty interesting, and I love Scott Alms. I'm like almost everything.
Tiny
that's
epic,
come out.
whatever, right?
Tiny epic, whatever. Anything Scott does tends to be really fun for me, and then obviously the art is cool, and I don't know, the whole theme and the like you could just hear that's like your introduction on your first day of work is like, so you've been eaten, or it's
That's
like
hilarious.
what pops up once you're inside the beast. So anyway,
Plus
that's
that
my
zero player
Yeah.
thing
Yeah.
is, if nothing else, a great hook.
Yeah.
For sure.
All
All
right.
right, number 3?
Yeah.
My number 3 is Expedition to Newdale from Lookout Games and Alexander Pfister. We're all big Alexander Pfister fans, and he had a great game series called Oh My Goods. And this takes place in that world of Oh My Goods.
okay.
It is a very similar style of game where you're engine building, but it's a campaign game where you play over a series of campaigns. Your technology and things like that increases over time, with your results of one game going into your other games, but it looks just really neat. And I'll play anything that Pfister puts out. And as far as I know, this is his first narrative campaign-driven game he's done.
Mechanically, does it play like Oh My Goods?
It doesn't play mechanically like Oh My Goods. It's similar to that. You'll have your factories that run, and you'll be converting resources and bringing workers, but there's a little bit of speculation. You can plan your actions without knowing exactly which workers are going to be available each round. So you can kind of gamble, try to do some actions and hope to recruit workers later to fill in those empty slots. And then you might get lucky and those workers are there and you might not. So there's a little bit of push your luck to it as well. So I'm interested to see how it plays out, especially over that narrative campaign.
My number 3 we played at Gen Con. It's called Crystal Palace. It is a 2 to 5 player worker placement game that takes place during the 1851 World's Fair. And you're going to meet a lot of different people that were there. You know, like Levi Strauss, who we all know make new jeans. Well, anyway, it's not the point. The point is, it's a really clever dice placement game. Your dice are your workers. And if you're frustrated by dice, listen to this. This is really unique. Most games, you'll roll dice and use those dice to put wherever according to the number. This, you get to turn your die to whatever value you want, which is really cool. But you have to pay for those. So you could have all 6 workers that can function really at high levels and do specific actions, but you're going to be paying a lot of money, and money is very sparse in the game. So you have to kind of balance around the actions that you want to take, and those actions that you want to take are going to be competing with what other people can pay for and what they want to take. So it was a super fun game. We explored very little of it. It was loud. It was at a convention. I want to get back in and dig into it to see what more meat it has, but I really enjoyed that first
The thing that I found really cool about that game was that each inventor is actually tied in directly to the invention they invented.
Yeah.
And if you can pair them together, you get bonuses, which I think is really neat.
Yeah, that was
There's
cool.
a lot of really cool things going on with that game. I'm excited to try that again. That was definitely one of the ones that I was looking at on my list as well.
Plus Levi Strauss.
Plus Levi
Correct.
Strauss.
Boom.
Can't
Is he
go
one of the
wrong
inventors, I
there.
assume?
Yeah, well, there's
yeah, he's
there's a
one-
whole
a lot
deck
of
of
them.
inventors.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
All right, my number 3 is not really much of a Euro in the traditional sense, well, at all. It's Paranormal Detective. This one's from Lucky Duck Games. If I'll give you the brief rundown here. This has a theme similar to Mysterium, but it doesn't at all play like that. There's kind of a medium involved, and you're trying to solve a crime. There's like a murder or something like that. But as the ghost, I am doing different things, interacting with all the other players at the table in order to try to get them to get the right clues. So there's some cards involved with some artwork, but to communicate with, say, Jeremy, I might only be able to guide his hand as he draws something. So he holds a pencil, and I have to move his hand to write a clue.
Interesting.
Or someone else has something, and I'm interacting them, maybe just rhyming words, and I have to, it's like a party game with that sort of like ghost guiding people to the right clues sort of idea, which I think
cool.
is probably a good route for that sort of idea. So,
Yeah.
and the box art is phenomenal.
It's cute,
As
yeah. It
does-
soon as
it
I saw
does.
this box art, I was like, I am down to at least try this game.
Yeah.
Very cute. All right, my number 3 is Last Bastion by Antoine Bauza. It's
Yeah.
Repos. It's a co-op. We played it at Gen Con. I definitely, it was a hard game. I really want to get back in there and play it again. It's a co-op, and you're trying to fight off, and you're helping each other by where you place your cards on your little player board. And it's been a while since we played it. I just remember really enjoying it and going, oh man, I'd really like to get back in there and try that again.
Yeah, if you guys aren't familiar, this is a re-implementation of Ghost Stories, which is one of
Oh,
my
really?
all-time favorite cooperative games. It's super challenging. Has the same kind of gameplay as Ghost Stories. So if you're familiar with that, you're obviously going to be familiar with Last Bastion, but they've taken it from that kind of ancient Japanese, Chinese feudal area to like a castle, like a siege of these.
Yeah, there's like a
Like
baleful
Eastern
queen
European
and-
type
Yeah,
thing?
yeah.
Yeah.
Huh.
So they've just rethemed it, but it's the same main gameplay as Ghost Stories. Great game.
And who's putting that out?
It's Repost and
Productions.
Antoine
okay.
Bauza again.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right, number 2. My number 2 is called Defense of Procon 3.
No idea.
This is from David Turtsey, who's done
do you know that name?
ton of great games that we all love.
Wow.
The premise of this game is that Earth has expanded out into the solar system onto this planet, Procon 3. We've built a colony there that is being invaded by aliens. And this is a completely asymmetric game designed for 4 players to play in teams of 2. So when you think of a game like Star Wars Rebellion, where you can split that game up into 2 players, this was actually designed from the ground up to be played that way. One player is going to be controlling the ground forces, and the other player is going to be controlling the space forces. And what one player does is going to directly affect how the other battle goes on the other side. And you're kind of, one player is playing against the other player in these different theaters. There is a 1 versus 1 mode where you just play the ground force and the space battle kind of resolves itself. But playing this as a 2-player asymmetric game is, or 4-player, I'm sorry, is where like the core of the game is. And that premise sounds really interesting to me.
That is.
Who makes this one?
This is coming from PSC Games, and they're kind of known for
Yeah, they're
doing big war
yeah,
games
yeah,
and things like that. So it looks amazing too. Like, I mean, the cover looks great and all the pieces
Really?
look great. So
Yeah, I haven't seen this one at all. Have
I'm
you?
really
Yeah,
excited to try it.
Anytime I hear PSC, I think of those rules that have like the dots in them, like 4.2, 4.3,
Oh, yeah.
4.4.
They
Those
have
things
good
always
rule
scare me.
books,
I'm like,
though.
oh my gosh. But Tertzi's a great name. Like, he's done a lot of really
Yeah.
good games.
Oh,
so.
yes.
My number 2 is Cooper Island, which is a 2 to 4 worker placement game from Capstone. So Cooper Island is these weird-shaped island in the Atlantic. It is basically a peninsula with 4 spires that come off of it. So they represented that in the game with a worker placement game. You are one of the people that controls one of those 4 peninsulas coming off that main island, and you're using your boat to basically inhabit and build up that by using 4 basic resources. The big lure here is that it's from Ode, the guy that did Lagrange.
I'm in.
It's a 32-page rule book. It's a beast of a game.
I'm out.
But it looks really, really fascinating. So that's Cooper Island.
That's Capstone, right?
Yeah.
It's the second Capstone game I have because
Yeah.
Crystal
Does-
Island was the first.
That
yeah.
one does look really good.
Yeah.
My number 2 is an expansion. This is Underwater Cities New Discoveries. There's not much known about this, but Underwater City is one of my favorites from last year. I know it's going to have modules of different kinds. This different module is going to come with a combination of different cards, maybe some things that change up your starting resources and things like that. And then in the BGG description, it says, and one big surprise. So they're teasing something big as
giant
part.
megadome.
Yeah,
Kelp.
I have
Kelp
no
expansion.
idea. It's going to be kelp related, I'm sure. No, but I'm definitely on board with anything they do for Underwater
yeah.
Cities,
Yeah.
and hopefully, it adjusts the game to get it into more tables anyway.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Mine is Terra Mara, which
We've
we've
played
but it's good. And we played an early pre-production copy. It wasn't final yet, so I'm looking forward to actually seeing how it turns out in the final production of it. It's just a really cool worker placement game. We've all played it. So as you're going down you can go down further, but you would lose your workers until that area unlocks, and so you have to be very careful about where you place your workers in order. It's just a really, really great game. It's
It
got
is
a good
unique.
pedigree on it, yeah.
It is definitely unique. The way you were just describing the way the tiles even change too as you go down, so
Yeah,
you
they
can't
flip.
always count on all the same spaces throughout the entire game.
Well, and there's
Yeah.
multiple tracks too. So you've got your military track, and then you've got this little side track where your horses are running down. Then you have your canoe track, and just a lot of different things going on in there. And I really liked everything about it. So
Yeah, make sure you guys go to our review of that. We have it up. Again, it's from designers of like Grand Austria Hotel,
Yeah.
and
Lorenzo.
Coimbra and Lorenzo, all those games. So huge
Yeah.
pedigree.
excited to pick up the final of that one for
Yep.
sure.
All right.
All right, my number 1 is Perseverance Castaway Chronicles, and this game looks absolutely amazing. This is from Mind Clash Games, the same guys that did Anachrony,
Yeah.
which is one of my favorite games of all time. The premise is that you are aboard a cruise liner that goes missing, and it washes up, crashes onto this mysterious island inhabited by dinosaurs and monsters and everything, and you're trying to build a foothold in this area to survive. And you're able to kind of build that city out in a city building mechanic that uses dice placement, and the dice represent these dinosaurs that you can actually go out and kind of tame and then ride to do things around this
Are
world.
you making this up
I'm
right
not.
now?
I mean, it's crazy. So and there's city building, there's dice placement. You have a hex grid of like exploration tiles that you can kind of explore out, and it's narrative driven. It plays over 5 different scenarios.
It has
So,
everything.
As an
I
app,
mean,
it's a
yeah,
video game.
This
so-
game has, I mean, it really does, and Mind Clash has a fantastic track record of
That's
delivering.
true.
Is there also a kitchen sink?
I
Yes.
mean, and like, yes, I'm sure there is. And I wouldn't be surprised if there was some, time travel. We'll see.
Well, what sounds like you said, Mind Clash. If anyone's going to try to be that ambitious as this sounds, they are
Wait,
probably
is
a group
this-
to try it.
This wasn't Kickstarted. This is going to be for sale.
That's a great question.
'Cause
Actually.
they've always Kickstarted all their stuff.
They have
I'd be
always
interested
that
to
is
see.
interesting. They have always Kickstarted.
So it may
their
just
stuff.
be for demo.
It may just
or
be for
Ryan
demo.
may just made this up.
It sounds too
find
good
out.
to be true.
He had a really weird dream, and he's thinking it was real. And this
Man,
is the
if
next
I
day.
could dream a game like this up and design a game like this, but it does sound very ambitious.
Yeah.
So I'm very eager to play it and see. I mean, Anachrony sounds ambitious too.
Sure.
But when you actually play that game, it feels so good and it's so satisfying. So
Yeah.
hopefully this follows in that track.
I haven't heard it. I'm going to look up a couple of your games because I don't even know if they're real. But we'll figure it out.
I will say you win the award for the longest titles of the games. we've
Yeah, that's
shared.
true.
All right, my number one, and these people aren't paying me. I'm not sponsored by Capstone, but they've had a phenomenal year. Watergate is easily one of my favorite games. As you saw, Crystal Palace and Cooper Island, and now Maracaibo, which is my number one.
Oh, yeah.
It's an Alexander Pfister game. It's a huge big box game. It's like a 4 on the weight scale or higher. It is a hand
Woof.
management, area control game. It's got, from what I understand, I don't have the rules yet, but it has a little bit of campaign because you'll be following narrative story throughout the game. But it uses a lot of his tricks that he's done in other games, namely Blackout Hong Kong, which is one of my favorites. But the way that the hand management works, where you're laying cards and then scooping them back up with actions. It takes place in the Caribbean. I don't know what date, but obviously it's probably something like pirate themed or something like that. Maybe not. Trader themed, who knows. Anyway, it's Maracaibo. Can't wait to play this.
Yeah, Capstone is really doing
They have an incredible list this year.
a great list this year, starting with Watergate, and then all these things he's signing are
Well,
fantastic.
they're kind of building a reputation as being like the go-to for some of these heavier Euro games. And I know we all tend to gravitate towards
Well, they
those.
started off in really heavy territory,
Super heavy.
like almost too heavy for the casual gamer. Now they've kind of gone back and made them more approachable, but also themed them in a way that's more appealing to people.
Yeah.
well, and
which is
plus putting
huge.
some stuff like Watergate, which isn't really heavy
Or
at
the
all,
estates.
No.
and the estates with their simple their simply
games.
complex line.
Yeah.
All right, so it's time for number one, right? Jeremy already mentioned this. Orleon Stories. I will fully admit I wasn't even aware that it was its own game, and I hadn't researched it
Not
that
sure
much.
it is either, but
I
think
just
it is.
assumed that it was an expansion for Orleans, and I'm always looking for a reason to get that back to the table. It is one of my favorite games of all time, yet it doesn't hit the table too terribly often. But I'll definitely be looking for this one to get either it or it and the original Orleans back to the table.
Yep.
Right on. My number one is kind of a fun Essen throwback for me to my first Essen a couple of years ago. I picked up this dexterity game called Four Elements for my husband because he loves dexterity games and it's become one of my most favorite games. I know that they've done a second gen of it, and there is going to be this new Physical Elements Advanced. And I haven't been able to really tell much about it. There was this little video on their Facebook page where like somebody had made it so all the components were like its own like all connected. And it was like this big. And what it is a bunch of little you choose an element, and they're flat plastic pieces, and there's barriers, there's the ones that you shoot, and there's these things go off the table. You can lose the game that way. And so you're flicking these pieces around, you're trying to knock through people's barriers and get these pieces off. But this guy had built this contraption. It was like a little vehicle almost that was
And this was part of the game?
I don't have any clue, but I know they do all kinds of cool competitions, and one just to see what they've done. If I think I'll probably just go ahead and pick up whatever the second generation is and get whatever this new advanced Physical Elements piece is, but I love the game and it's a lot of fun. So
Yeah, it sounds like you're just on board for anything
I'm
they
on
do
board
it,
for
right?
whatever
Yeah.
they do, and I picked it up at my first Essen, so I'll be going back this year. So I'm looking forward to getting the
Talk
rest
about
of
all
it.
the time. None of any of us have played it with you yet, have we?
I've played
Oh,
it.
No.
You played it?
Ryan's
Oh, I
played
have.
it for sure. Well,
It's
I need
really
to bring it over.
interesting.
Yeah, it's very interesting. And the more I've played it, and then I went trolling their Facebook page, and I see that there's these competitions, and I always played it flat. Like I played with everything flat, and people stack and build
Oh,
all these
really?
crazy ways to barricade. And I'm like, blew my mind. And I showed my friends that I normally play it with, and then we all started trying to figure out how to do all these crazy things with the game. It's a super, super fun time.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It was
Yeah.
a good time. It's
You've
a
got
good
me
game.
intrigued anyway.
So that is the end of our top 20 list. Make sure you guys make comments below in order to win Bloomtown. Also check out our live stream of a bunch of Essen titles on October the 5th. You can also come back to YouTube afterwards to see the full live stream there. We're playing a bunch of games, including some of the games that we mentioned here on our list. Also, Cardboard Caravan.
Yes, they are sponsoring our live stream of Essen Games, obviously, because Funagain runs the Cardboard Caravan, and they mule games back from Essen every year. A number of us have used them over the years, I'm sure. But they're going to be kind enough to sponsor our Essen live stream, so we're going to be talking a lot about the games you can see at Essen, and probably plugging the possibility of getting those muled back over here for you.
And giving away some games.
Yeah, absolutely. Giving away games, just like we did on our Gen Con live stream, but we'll be doing that on October 5th, so tune in then.
And there's 2 ways to check out the Cardboard Caravan. One on BGG. You can follow their pre-order list there for the Spiel Essen preview, and also you can go to funagain.com to check out their list there as well. So that is our Essen Top 20 list. Make comments below, and we will see you guys next time.
Bye-bye. Well, that's another episode of Chit Chat in the Bag. Thanks for watching. If you want to check out another one, there's probably one right over here in the bottom left-hand corner, or probably your right-hand corner. Whatever corner, we have something to click on. So click on one of these things, and good things will happen.